Everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
right, it's 8:30. Bill, do you want to run this? You want me to do it? You want to do it? Up to you. You're on mute, so.
Like to be nowadays. Yeah, either you or Brandon or myself, doesn't matter.
All right, I'll go ahead just to. So I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Capital Improvement Planning Committee for the town of Foxborough. This meeting is being broadcast live on Foxboro Cable Access and recorded. It's Saturday, March 7th, 2026. So welcome to everyone. We have an agenda, pretty full agenda for today, so we're going to get right into it. For the first item, I'd like to call for a review and approval of the meeting minutes from February 2nd, 2026. Does anybody have any comments or motion?
I'll motion to approve them.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor? We have to do a roll call vote because we're on Zoom. So I'll start with a yes.
Bill, yes.
Amy, yes.
Chris, yes.
Mike was absent, I'll abstain.
Thank you. Okay, so those passed. Moving on to the police department's request, we have Chief Grace to speak about first a vehicle replacement. So Chief, are you ready to go?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. This is a replacement of one of the lieutenant's vehicle, which is a 2020 vehicle. So we've got 6 years out of it. And the goal on here is to always try not to get too far behind as these become very expensive. This 2020 vehicle will not be decommissioned. It will then move down to the detective division to replace a 2014, either the Escape or the Edge. Any questions on that? It's pretty clear cut.
If I thought I saw a quote of like 55.8 or 56 or something, is this ask is 67, is it? 67? Did I miss the?
I'd have to.
I thought down in all the, there's a lot of documentation that was in the back that I tried to track through yesterday. I thought one of them.
Yeah, it's a combination of the car and then also the Motorola quote. There's I believe, Chief, there's radios and stuff that also need to be installed in the car, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah, so you have a vehicle price and then you have the equipment price and then it
Okay,
totals
I
together.
probably didn't put the two together. Thank you.
But I do like that. I wish it was 55. The second part is really I guess a formality for the CIP committee is just to approve the purchase of a Bearcat, which is a essentially an armored vehicle. The funding would come from a third party, but just because of timelines and restrictions with a lot of things going on, I just want to not have any more delays if as we work through this on a different platform. So
Chief, this is more of a sort of because in case the town receives money to purchase this, we would then, because of our CIP policy, would need to have come through CIP. So this is something while we're not yet resolved, we are ensuring that we're teed up at any time to go.
correct.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly. Great summary.
And the reality is that we're behind on being able to buy this because of what's going on. So the second he can pull the trigger, the better we are off. You want to give them, you might as well tell them what the price tag is on it so that people understand that too.
I think it's
275, wasn't it 275,000?
well, 275 is
The base?
Yeah, is essentially the safe number. The quote came in
Mhm.
around about 256, but we have some outfitting for communications in it. And the vendor said, just give a little leeway because this is a refurbished. So in case they run into something, but historically this is where they run. So new, about 400,000. So again, another way to go, move faster.
Okay.
Any questions?
Anybody have any questions on that one? Okay, so let's go on to,
Okay, thank you.
thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Fire and Joint Public Safety Building. So we have Chief Kelleher and Tony Chief, why don't you explain? This is a pretty simple one, but why don't you just explain it to us?
This is just our annual lease payments for an ambulance and a fire engine that we ordered 2 years ago. Still in production, still waiting for it. So I think we're going to get the engine in 2029. I think the ambulance in late 27, early 28. But this is just an annual payment for that.
Will we be done paying for it by the time we get it?
Yeah, honestly, yes.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I was waiting for that market to get corrected, and it just hasn't. So I don't know when they're going to catch up. When there's all kinds of stuff going on in the fire apparatus manufacturing world because antitrust. There's a monopoly going on.
Okay.
So there's only 2 manufacturers basically in the country now. So it's been an interesting couple of years.
Be a good business to get into, I think, at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, anyone any questions on those lease payments? Okay, and then fire patio repairs and chiller replacement. Tony, I assume that's you?
Yes, it is. Good morning, everybody. So we'll start with the chillers. That chiller's there, it's been there since 2008. We've had some issues with it in the last few years, just getting tired. I believe we should look at maybe adding an additional chiller, having 2 as a redundance, just in case. So I know on one it was somewhere around 130, 140,000 for 1 unit, but then we had another one. There's going to be extra work for the patio for it, and having some engineering drawings and all that. So that's what we're looking at for the on the chiller end of it. Any questions on the chiller?
Yeah, I have some, Tony. I mean,
Sure.
so we've been running on 1 chiller in the building. Now we're going to have 2. Are they going to be like on a lead lag type of scenario, or do you need both of them to be running?
Oh, no. I think we're using 1 as a back, like lead lag, like we did over at the Ahern. So that one unit's not always getting, running all the time, especially over there, which is 24/7.
Okay.
So they would go switch back and forth, almost having like 2 boilers.
Right. So obviously I know we've lost the chiller at times in the middle of the summer, but my concern is because I think we're going to be extremely tight on cash. We didn't ask Brandon to give us that number. If we had to only buy the 1, is it something that could be added in the future? If you made some modifications, in other words, if you did a little bit of the work to set up the piping and stuff like that now, maybe it's a $200,000 expenditure rather than a 4, and then if we could afford it down the road, we put the other 1 in.
Yeah, what I would do is I would actually leave the one that we have because it still runs, and I would add a new one.
Okay.
And then someday in the future, I could take the old one out and add another one there.
Okay.
So I wouldn't demo the old chiller at this point because I would like to have 2, like we did with the boiler over there. We put 1 new boiler in. I got the old one this year. We'll put the other new boiler in. So we'll be in good shape there.
So what would that cost though, if you did it that way?
I'd say definitely under 200,000, maybe 175 with the pad and everything. And maybe
even with the additional piping and stuff that you'd have to do?
I'd say maybe at least 200,000.
Yeah. Okay.
With the piping and just have it ready for the future.
Okay. Thank you.
And the other thing would be the patio. For some reason over there, that thing has failed. It's basically a roof. There's a flat roof, and above it is like a patio, and there's a drain underneath the roof. Obviously, it's been leaking, and most of the patio blocks up there have deteriorated and broke, and it's not easy. It's not going to be an easy job. That's why I really haven't have a real idea how we're going to do it. If we're going to go the same way, we're going to do something maybe with getting some ideas from an architect or something, just because it's a roof over a roof. The water has to drain through the roof to get into the bottom roof. So it's almost like a foot. When you walk out that door up in the patio, it drops down about 18 inches or something. So there's a roof underneath the patio. So water has to get through it, and it has to drain.
And
So is this an actual patio, like where people sit outside, or is this just
There's a
more?
grill out there.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say, could somebody explain the whole?
Yeah, what's
patio
happening?
thing?
Yeah.
Roofed? You have a roof deck?
Go ahead, chief. It's your deck.
When they built the station, they built it's like a lanai out back. It's probably, I don't know. It's probably what, 8x8, 8x10,
Bigger than that. It's about 12 by 12, maybe.
12x12.
Give
So
or take.
it's just an area off the back that you can access from the second floor to go out onto the. There's nothing out there. I think there might be a grill or something out there, but there's no furniture or anything. And over time, it was just kind of space, but the blocks have deteriorated. Right now, it's not even usable because the blocks are all. You can't even go out there because the blocks are all destroyed. So I think the bigger issue with this is the roof leak.
Leak underneath it.
Yeah, I don't think it's so much we're worried about the outside area. We're worried about the leak that's in the roof.
so would we be better off, Chief, to just eliminate the deck concept, but to do all the repairs and make it so that we have a much better sounder roof system in that area?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Could
Yeah.
do that.
We've explored some idea. I mean, there's a bunch of different ideas. Like Tony said, one of the challenges, the demo of that's going to be challenging because it's on the second floor. It's limited access.
Yeah.
I think we might need a front end loader or something to come up. And then, but looking forward, I mean, we've talked about a bunch of different concepts. Maybe just making it out of wood as opposed to concrete.
Yeah, maybe like 4 by 4 sections. You'd be able to pick. The thing is, it's one of these things. If you do put a patio, you got to be able to remove it if we ever had any roof issues or any drain issues. So it has to be something that's removable. If we went with the patio on that.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to say it. I think this was one of the architects. I won't use the term I would normally use, but ways of making something look a little bit fancier than it needed to be. We tried to eliminate a lot of that stuff, but this one seemed like it made some sense at the time. But really, like if it's not something that is practically needed to be used, then I personally would eliminate the deck. As you said, if you had to put something back, I'd put a wooden one, which you could let the water go to the roof underneath it and drain from there.
Right.
And not incur this type of cost and to this level at least, but to make sure that you had something that wouldn't leak in the future. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I guess, Tony, we know why we don't have a veranda at Town Hall over the gala. We were just talking about that yesterday of how it would be lovely to have a veranda because we can't see the parking lot. And now we know why we don't have one. Okay. So, Tony, that quote of $50,000, is that, could you see any savings through that if you weren't replacing it with a deck, or is that just?
Oh yeah, no, we could just do a regular roof repair under regular budget. That was just if we had to, build a deck over the repairing of the roof is not going to be a huge money issue. That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, again, the money's so
The deck
tight.
would be.
The money's so tight this year. So do you see, if we had to cut something instead of 50,000, is there a number you're comfortable with if we're going
And you
straight?
can cut it in half if you have to. You know what I mean? Especially if we go with wood, it's going to be cheaper. It's just getting all that concrete off the roof. It's all these 2 by 2, good size. I think they're like 2 inches thick. Those are pretty heavy. But
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any
Thank you.
questions? Okay, moving on to municipal buildings. Oh, that's Tony and me.
Yep.
So the first one is ADA upgrades and improvement. And a year or so ago, the town had I have it right here, what's called an ADA Title II Self-Evaluation and Transition Plan. And basically what this was an inventory of our town buildings and facilities to evaluate their accessibility compliance. It is a requirement, of the law, and more importantly, it's something we should want to do for our residents. Brandon was the one who suggested, and which was a great idea, to rather than having this sit on the shelf, is to tackle a little project. In this report, there are multiple projects. We clearly cannot do them all at once. So the proposal for this year is to use $25,000 to tackle some sort of low-hanging fruit. We have some issues with braille signage, maybe some door openers. Tony, what else were you thinking?
it's basically a lot of signage, door openers, access, rails, maybe. I was reading some of the report yesterday. A lot of it was door closures. They're saying, some of the doors are too heavy to push and stuff like that. But like I said, that's something we can just bite away at it as time goes. But
Didn't we
Well,
meet
that's what-
ADA when we built the building?
what was that, Bill?
Didn't we meet the ADA requirements when we built the building? I thought we had everything approved. Are these new requirements, or is this someone dictating something stricter than?
I don't know. I didn't have the study done, but there is some stuff in the older buildings. Yes, then like the town hall. Well, there was a couple of signs in there that were missing. Paige.
Yep.
Joe?
Yeah, we're having some issue with the Braille. Something about the Braille is for some reason non-compliant. We are looking into that as to whether we really, like, we've been pushing back, but we have been told that we're not compliant with Braille.
Okay,
And
so
yeah,
this is not just
This
town
wouldn't
hall.
only be.
Oh no, this is the whole.
This is the whole town.
Buildings like
Okay.
Memorial Hall and just this area is that I guess gonna. It's very hard to make it work, but
Okay, sorry.
Has anybody stepped back and looked at the entirety of the report? And I mean, if you're going to tackle it, is it a $50,000 job or is it $1 million? You know,
For the whole report?
the whole report.
well, you're saying you're going to tackle 25,000. I don't know whether we're clipping off like 1/100th of it, or we're.
I can tell you, it's that there are 228 barriers identified in this report, and the total cost to repair would be $552,007.
Okay. Well, that's what I was trying to get a frame on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're barely nicking it, really.
We're barely nicking it, correct?
But I would also say that report was done by an outside group who
Yeah.
they're going to high estimate everything. So
Yeah. But even if you cut it in half, Bill, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed.
It's still, it's 10% of the.
yep.
Yeah.
Well, but hey,
You got to think about it going forward. Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to do something. I mean, honestly, if Brandon hadn't reminded me, it would have sat on a shelf. So thank you to Brandon. But I do think it's important that we try to, like you say, Mike, chip away.
Yeah.
And if we
I
come
know-
into extra money, we can always do more. But I think, this year it's important that we just do a little bit, but we can't overcommit right now.
And I know that I looked at that report. That one's similar to the one we did on all the sidewalks and streets in town a few years back. So we're required to have this ADA transition plan both on the public facilities and on the sidewalks in town. And the report's there to start to pick at it over time. And as long as we're working on it and we're spending money on it to progress and to knock that list down, then the state and the ADA looks favorably upon us for doing that.
Thanks, Chris. Okay, anybody have any? Oh, nope, now on to Payson Field building renovations. So this one has to do with what we affectionately call the Smurf building, which is over by, which field is that? I'm not that familiar with
The old laundry building used to be Payson Field.
Yeah, it's a
down by-
storage building over there that was painted a hideous color blue. But it's a good structurally. Well, Tony, I'll let you talk about it because I've actually never
Right.
been in the building, so I shouldn't.
Yeah,
have-
so we did an assessment on it. Me and Kyle went over there and we looked at it. It's a block building with a concrete roof, gravel tar roof. Obviously, over the years, it's been the roof has areas that it's crumbling and it's got some water damage. I was gonna kind of give it a quick fix, like maybe throw some rubber over it, and because I don't think we have to worry about R values and any of that. So I was hoping somewhere around 50 we can at least get the roof tight on that, and any extra money we can start working on the block. But it's like I said, it's a pretty sturdy building. There's a lot of I don't know who's put stuff in there, but there's stuff in there. And is that the JC that
Yeah,
JC?
the JCs have their
Yes,
stuff
yeah.
in there.
I mean, we got to do something. Eventually, if we don't do anything to the roof, it's going to deteriorate, and then we're going to have to, replace it or tear it down or something like that. So I'm just trying to give it a quick. I'm not going to go crazy on the roof. We don't need to do insulation. No one's. It's not occupied, so it's just giving it some sort of weather type.
How big a building is it? I mean, 50,000 seems like a lot for a roof.
Yeah,
Have you
it's
done your
probably
house
Sorry, Bill.
have you done your house lately?
Well, yes, but yes, it wasn't 50,000. It was a lot of money.
well, it also wasn't an asphalt roof either. It's a flat roof.
Yeah, they have to take off what's there. I would say the only thing is this building is not It's not a stellar building. It's going to take work over time to get it back. And I guess the question is, I do realize the J.C.'s use it. I thought somebody else used it too, but, and I think that it's been to a condition, from what I understand at least, that the leaks are so bad that like the nativity scene, they won't keep in there anymore because it's actually, the items are getting damaged, so they're keeping those someplace else. And I guess the question is this a responsibility of the town to have this kind of a storage building? And if it is, then fine, but if it's not, then maybe the better bet is to just take it down and get rid of it.
Tony, what do you think the
Either way, it's
cost,
gonna cost money.
what would the cost to take that down be? Do you have any ballpark estimate?
Probably is, these days, I'd probably say at least 25,000. It's not, it's all concrete and you gotta get it. It could be a little, could be as much as a roof. I don't know. I mean, it's very close.
Mhm.
And I don't know if there's any hazards in there either, so I don't believe so, but it could be. I don't know. I don't even know when that thing was actually built. And
Chris, do you see any value in having a storage building over there? I mean, I don't know how valuable storage buildings are around. I mean, it's owned by the town, so, it's nice that we let the J.C.'s use it, and maybe we always will, but I don't know what arrangement was made there, but is storage important over there?
I mean, we haven't used it in a long time. So it's not currently being used by the DPW. I mean, there's plenty of field space over there, but when we pick up our mowers, they're either stored at Elm Street or at the booth. To scatter them around to a third property doesn't really make sense as we're moving around town. So, for us, no, not necessarily.
Okay. There is mention, originally when we were doing the auditorium zoning, of requiring the future developer of that whole project to do some improvements to this. So it might be, as we're getting close to that we hold on this and wait and see what comes out of that. Although that God knows how long that'll take to get through that process, and whether really, I mean, a lot of expectations were placed on this project, and I'm not sure that repairing the Smurf building is going to, when the select board looks at it and there's issues with pricing and getting folks interested, I'm not sure that's going to really rise to the top, but it was one of the things that the recreation department had asked for during the rezoning effort. So we're going to probably throw it in there and see how it goes, but I have my concerns.
Chris, do you know who does use it?
I think it's, as far as I know, it's just the J.C.'s over there. I'm not sure if there's anybody else in there or not.
And is it just, I don't want to use the term the wrong way, but is it just junk that's being stored there, or is it stuff that they use every year that you know?
I know they go in there before Founders Day every year.
Okay.
So I think they've got some of that stuff stored over there.
And I know they're worried about it. I mean, they're having to limit the use of it because of the leakage and the flooding. Anything you put in there will be damaged, so you have to only put in non-fragile items. So I did meet with them a while back, and that was a concern over there.
Sounds like a discussion with the J.C.'s is what's in order. I mean, maybe they've abandoned the use and just started using somebody's
No,
basement.
they would love it. It's just too leaky.
Well, they would love it, but if they've learned how to operate without it, then, what they're going to spend $50,000 to help them.
Well,
Yeah.
honestly, I wasn't even assuming that it would always be J.C.'s. I mean, once it got nice, I hate to say it, but then it becomes a town asset that might be more useful for others. I mean, TBD, but it was more of just, if this building mattered, then it should be secure. But if it doesn't matter to sort of our collection, then perhaps we just get rid of it.
And I mean, maybe there's an opportunity for an expanded use if it was weather tight, but I mean, we have all the user groups, the sports groups in town that kind of have stuff scattered everywhere. Youth basketball actually has a Conex box that they store over on that property right now. Just because that's where they were able to put one. So they store off season, all the basketballs, all the uniforms, youth soccer does it over at the Friends Field. Lacrosse has a trailer over on that property. So, I mean, there's potential for expanded use, but I think the user groups that are potentially using it should be looking at pitching in as well, if it's something that the town's going to keep and maintain.
Hey, Tony, I had a building similar to this at one point that had a flat roof, and it was more cost effective for me to put a truss roof over it and just put asphalt shingles. And it was a better solution for a long term anyway.
Right.
Would you say that's more expensive now or less expensive?
I'd say it'd probably come out to be pretty close to the same.
Same, yeah.
Yeah, because by the time you get the trusses and put them up and find a way to fasten them and plywood, and like you said, shingles not, they're not as cheap as it used to be. I think it would probably be more money by the time you're done with it.
Okay. I just hate flat roofs, so.
Yeah, it's got like a little, it's not completely flat. It's got like a real, very minute arch to it. But it's not, to me, it's flat, but it's got a little pitch to it. But that's why they just threw the gravel up there, tar and gravel.
Yeah, I think my fear is based, and again, the last time I looked at it was probably 2 or 3 years ago with you and Carl. But my fear is that it's been leaking for so long that once you start trying to do something on that roof, you're going to find out there's more damage there than is worth. So, but again, I haven't looked at it in the last couple of years, so.
All right, so why don't we add this? I'm keeping a little list, I'm sure Marie is, of possible cuts. Just put this one as whether we cut it in half or we keep it all, or maybe.
I'd like to ask Bill. What he thinks makes sense. Haven't heard all this.
I'm not overly impressed with the building. Like I said, and nothing has really been done to this building for years and years and years and years. So that's why the exterior block is the mortar and stuff is not in great shape. All the windows, I believe, were pretty much punched out and are now maybe just plywood covered to stop anything from infiltrating. The inside is definitely wet. That's why I wouldn't store anything in there that's of any value that moisture would make a difference to. Storage is always precious, and that's probably the problem. Storage is really always precious, but putting $50,000 into this, I think to Chris's point, I'd rather buy 5 conical boxes and put them on a concrete pad there. And at least you'd know they'd be, we use those all over the town, and at least you'd know those would be dry storage with virtually nothing to do to them. So,
Something similar too is that fabric top building we have behind public safety.
Mm-hmm.
Those 2 buildings are square footage wise close. This is going back when Chief Hatfield was still here, but that building I think was like 20,000 for the building, the structure, and the block to go with it. I'm sure it's probably all in closer to the 50,000 now, but you're starting new with something that is weather tight, has a garage door on it that can roll up, and you actually back trailers in and out of there fairly easily. So maybe that's the option, is that we look, if the town is looking for this storage, then we look at that as an option on that space too, and just demo and start new.
The only problem with that, Chris, as we all know, and that's the reason the laundry building was such a hot topic, is that a fabric building, I'd be really afraid to what the kids might do to get into it and stuff like that. It's nice in areas where we have people and security and stuff, but unfortunately, that's kind of the ozone over there. So,
sure.
If I was going to keep it, I'd keep block because I can't do much to it. So.
All right. Well, I think we have this as on the list.
Yeah.
Okay. Moving on to information systems and Aaron.
Good morning. So this request is for $200,000. It's a request that we make to support the town's centralized IT systems, which provides IT support townwide, including file storage, application and database hosting, email, internet, supports our building security systems, HVAC, lighting, plays a critical part in day-to-day operations townwide. This request it supports hardware software refresh of ongoing and aging and unsupported equipment, ongoing maintenance, as well as enhanced cybersecurity protections that help safeguard our municipal data and network infrastructure. Really, this investment, this is how the town has been able to maintain. It's a needed investment to continue to maintain this network infrastructure and technology infrastructure, and ensure that we can continue to provide high quality, technology services and solutions, to both our staff, but then also for the service of our town constituents as well.
Anybody have any questions
I'm
on
gonna talk about so this is a $200,000 request. There's a 400,000 plus request in the school budget on tech. And I know that you try to school technologies trying to support the entirety of the town. Can you just talk about how these two interrelate? Are they looked at entirely independent of each other, the two numbers, or is there any integration? Is this just for software programs that run on the town side, or is this also infrastructure? It's hard to, from my viewpoint, to disseminate the two.
Sure. So on the town side, this $200,000 request it's primarily for hardware, and then there is some hardware software solutions, but it's primarily really supporting town infrastructure for townwide, for town hall core services, DPW, water, sewer.
Do you have different do you have different boxes supporting the software on the town side and the school side?
In some cases we have different equipment. Like, so for instance, on the town side, we do have some security camera equipment, right? So like surveillance, video recording equipment, that equipment services the town. And then the school has their own equipment, right, that services the schools. But with that said, the equipment is the same manufacturer, it's the same vendor, right? We leverage a lot of efficiencies in terms of support staff and maintenance of that equipment. In other cases, with the town-wide network, there is some synergy between these two plans. Like, for instance, over this past year, we just did a significant refresh of network switching in both the town and the school side. So for this year and this upcoming year, one of the projects we're looking to do is to replace firewalls, and then also to replace core switching. So that's the switching that's at the center of the network that brings everything together, brings all the sites together. So the schools in the town use it's the same core switches, right? It's the same pieces of hardware. And in that case, what we do at times is we prorate the cost of that equipment, right? So we assign some cost to the town and some cost to the schools, and those capital plans together would come together and fund those particular items, like a core switch or a firewall. In those cases, with a core switch or a firewall, to buy individual core switches for the schools and then individual core switches for the town would really double the cost, right? Because you'd be buying very similar equipment at very similar cost points. And then you would really just be doubling them up. You'd be doubling the maintenance cost, doubling the labor, doubling the amount of support it takes to maintain them. So we do look at it, and we look at how we can value engineer the equipment we need to run the services for the town and schools, and then again apply the appropriate cost to each entity to make sure that really there's a cost savings to both.
And Mike, there's one other point that I'm sure you may or may not know this. The systems that Aaron has put together over the years, basically we have a fully redundant system where there's basically an overlap in 2 data centers, which has come handy when all of a sudden a line is cut somewhere and the data center that's at the high school is offline. The data center that's at the Joint Public Safety picks up. So that also creates some cost on an annual basis, but it's really the only way to safeguard all your data and your functionality.
And that's full overlay, Bill?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not a technologist. I just know that this is the way it's been described to me in the past. You need probably an a deep analysis of somebody who understands this, the switches and the network boxes and support structure.
Unfortunately, in this particular environment, a lot of the equipment is getting older because when did we originally build the two data centers, Aaron?
2014, yeah.
So we're 12 years out. That's why he's in the mode of replacing switches and stuff like that, because the stuff is older. It doesn't unfortunately last long. And the biggest thing ever since COVID is that the price point on all of this stuff, if we could buy it for what we used to buy it, our budget would be half the number that it is today.
Yeah. I mean, really, too, what we have seen we're seeing a more significant increase on the school side, and some of that's driven programmatically, but also the cost of equipment, has really accelerated really the increases in some of these plans. And unfortunately, we're seeing it again right now. There's a manufacturer chip and memory shortage again. So, on the school side, we watch this as well. And kind of as prices ebb and flow, if we see that prices are coming down or about to go up, right, we try to make adjustments as we can to really try to maximize, what we're getting for our money for the town. But with that said, on the town side, we really value engineered the replacement. We haven't really seen much increase in terms of the amount of money that we're spending on technology. In case of the switching that we replaced this past year, we got about 12 years out of that equipment, which is a pretty good life cycle to get out of that equipment. But unfortunately, as Bill said, this is stuff that we do need. We need to maintain, because getting too far behind out of life cycle, we could end up in a situation, right, where we could have a critical outage, and that's just something that would have a significant impact, right? And I think like Bill could share from his experiences with us on the school side, but like Chris could share too, the fiber network that we operate, right? That's kind of the backbone for a lot of these services. It is redundant. We run, internet and network connectivity over it, but we also run connectivity for, the sewer water department's SCADA water monitoring system that they use to connect to some of their remote well sites. We do a pretty good job, I think, at keeping that equipment available for them at all times. As 24/7 kind of critical functions there as well. So, but we have done a good job of really value engineering this and making sure that we're removing some of the duplicate expenses that you would see if you had schools in towns doing this in isolation, right? We have a town-wide, voice system that we use, for core municipal services in schools, right? It very much so, what it results in is a reduction in that capital outlay for some of this core equipment, and you're not duplicating it on both sides.
Promise my last question, Aaron, but is this chipping away or is this bringing us up to date?
We're doing an adequate job at trying to stay current, on the town side. So we're not far behind. We're not super far behind, but we're not making significant advances either, right? We're kind of maintaining what we have and what we can do.
Okay, anybody else have any other questions for Aaron? All right, moving on to the schools, Karen and Dr. Bertos.
Hi, good morning. I don't know if Brandon is there. I did send a short PowerPoint.
Yes. Does anybody know by chance if somebody's hosting the meeting? I do not have share screen abilities right now.
We're having some technological difficulties with that, actually. Katie's been working on it, and for some reason it's being locked out. So
I mean, I could just speak to it if we can't get it up.
yeah, she did it. Everybody has the presentation attached to the meeting invitation. If you go to the original meeting invitation that Katie just updated this morning, you'll see that she did add the presentation to that when she wasn't able to, she's not been able to get this to load. So
if they can look at that, then I can stop by just chatting if we can't get that up. Okay.
So if everybody Yeah, it's the fourth file on the attachments that were just updated today to the meeting invite. And Katie is working on it with cable access, so if we can get it up, we will, but for right now, it seems like we are locked out.
If Katie's on the meeting, would you mind sending that to me? Because I actually don't have the invite.
Sure.
I can forward that to you, Aaron. 1 second.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Brandon.
We can just kind of go through, Karen, and walk
Yeah, I can
through the
start.
presentation.
Yeah. So the first page starts with transportation. So the school is requesting 1 minibus and 2 77 passenger buses. The total is for 519,128. So for the buses, the replacement factors that they've been considering is 10 years, 100,000 miles, as well as the conditions of the vehicles. I do have discussions with Chris and Adam and Lynn. All of us discussed this. The cameras and the radios are also installed in each of these buses. Your current fleet is 2377 passengers, 16 which are route buses, 7 which are spares. The 7 mini buses we have, 5 route and 2 spares. You've been a very similar since FY21 with 16 and 7 on those, with the exception of FY26 when we asked for 1 more mini bus because of the increase in student needs. The quotes that you have, excuse me, for the 77 passenger for the international buses. Afterwards, I did get another quote for Bluebird buses. Those Bluebird buses came in at 30,000 per bus, so about 60,000 savings if you chose to go with the Bluebirds over the internationals. The copy machines, the replacement factors for the copy machines is about every 3 to 4 years they're replaced. We do consider the conditions of the machines when we do any of those, when we do change the copy machines. For that, has been $40,000 for quite a while now. And for this year, I did add 5% for inflation, bringing it up to $42,000. We have been transitioning to more leasing of the copy machines, so that has been in effect. But even with the leasings, I can keep within just adding that 5% for inflation for the copy machines. Moving on to technology, the ask, I know Aaron is going to speak a little bit more to this, but the ask is for $419,600. And so Aaron, you want to chat a little bit about the technology?
Sure. So I know, Mike, you asked some questions earlier about the technology and some of the increases that we're seeing. So in 2020, partially in response to COVID and remote learning, the district had implemented a one-to-one computing program that provided all students K through 12 with a laptop, as well as provided all teachers with a laptop as well. At that time, the district had been kind of a hybrid kind of delivery mode with a BYOD program, which is allowing students to bring their own devices to school and teachers to bring their own devices to school, as well as providing one-to-one opportunities. So what that looked like at the time is we had carts of laptops that were available in all of the schools where teachers could use those carts of laptops to provide one-to-one computing opportunities during the school day, as well as we had an extensive number of computer labs in all schools, whether they were general purpose or specialty labs that were used for specialty programs. For instance, providing CAD, instruction on CAD or computer science or digital art. So those were specialty labs. So with that said, the district and the town had an influx of federal funds in order to support the acquisition of a lot of that equipment. It was purchased all at once in a very quick manner, prior, right at the beginning stages of COVID. That equipment is now going into year 7, going into year 7 in terms of its age. So 7-year-old laptops, they've really reached their life cycle, especially considering that many of them have traveled back and forth with students to and from home in book bags, over that time. So what we've been doing is we've been evaluating, working with our curriculum staff to look at the instructional program, look at instructional program needs, make sure that we're just not purchasing things that we have because we have them, that they still align with what we need for students. We've gone ahead and made some changes to this program over the last couple of years. One of the significant changes we made is in grades pre-K through 1, not having 1-to-1, but having about 10 or 12 laptops in those classrooms that stay in the classroom in a charging cart for teachers to provide one-to-one computing opportunities for students or computer access to students. They work often in centers, right, where they have a group of students using laptops and working maybe with an ed assistant and working on one activity while they're working with another group of students doing something else. Also, some of the changes we've made is we've always had classroom computers, desktops in every classroom, and those desktops were connected to the interactive projectors in the classroom audio and voice lift systems. We've moved away from classroom systems, and we've provided teachers with a little bit better laptop than they had originally had. But this has caused some cost savings and inefficiency again in this area, where we're not maintaining and supporting and purchasing and refreshing desktop computers that are sitting in classrooms, as well as providing teachers with laptops. So now teachers have laptops, and we're no longer outfitting classrooms with desktop computers. So that's provided some efficiency there as well. Some of the other program changes that kind of go along with that in order to eliminate the desktop. And then also too, because of the age of equipment, we've seen the technology has changed quite a bit in the last 5 or 6 years, where manufacturers are no longer making lamped projectors or interactive projectors. They've moved to digital displays, essentially look like a large interactive TV panel. Those panels provide us with better visibility in the classroom and off access viewing, but they also allow teachers easier wireless integration for wireless projection to be able to project from their laptop. So that switch has been multi-purpose. It's an improvement in terms of student viewing and access in the classroom. It's actually a cost efficiency. It's much less expensive to replace these projectors with these interactive displays than it is with the newer projectors. And then as well, it provides us with better integration for the teachers to only have a laptop and to be able to connect easily. So we're not losing instructional time. We're not having a lot of technical troubles with teachers being able to get their mobile laptop hooked up in the classroom. But with that said, the number of pieces of equipment that we still need to replace is significantly higher than it was in the past. Laptop life cycles are a little bit shorter than the desktop life cycles that we had seen. With the laptops, what we've realized we need to do is we need to replace at least one grade level per year at each grade band. So being one grade level when we look at the K to 4 level grade band, one grade level at the 5 to 8, and one grade level at the 8 through 12. And what that does is it generally keeps all of the laptops in circulation for students, in that 5-year range in terms of age, because we can't always get through a whole grade band. Keeps them within that 5 years of age. And that's where we see after that 5 years of age, we just see that the technology can't keep up with the current software. We see diminished battery life, and we see increased repair, right? So those are, significant impacts to the use of the laptops. But again, with that, really what you're seeing, is the increase is the effect of needing to replace that equipment to align with the instructional program. The other thing that, I mentioned some of the efficiencies or just looking at kind of how the program works. We have also, at the elementary level, the middle school level, the number of labs that we have, we've had a lot of specialty labs over the years. That number of labs has really decreased we really have one specialized art lab at the middle school now, where before there was 3 or 4 labs that we were maintaining there at the middle school. As we go through the curriculum reviews, we look at the software delivery and the programs, and we try to make sure that we can deliver the specialty instruction with students using their laptop devices, with teachers using their laptop devices. In some cases that isn't possible still, like with the example of the digital art lab. That's part of this request this year at the high school. The digital art lab was last replaced, I believe it was 17 in the 17-18 capital plan. That's a lab at the high school that they use for really professional art production, that they're doing in that class there. It's using Mac equipment. The instructional leaders in that art program, they feel very strongly about students having that authentic experience in the production world. Macs are the majority of what's used for digital production. So giving students those authentic experiences using, both hardware and software that are used in industry. That lab is also a lab that we're looking to replace this year. But really, what that number is composed of is primarily student laptops, the digital art lab, some interactive display replacements, and then the funding of some equipment, as I referred to earlier, the firewall, specifically firewalls and some of the core switching equipment that kind of complements the funding from the town to get some of that infrastructure replaced.
Okay, thank you, Aaron. The next section is other equipment. On this one, some principal requests. So the Ahern School is in the middle of a library refresh. So for FY27, they would like $33,000 for phase 2 of that library refresh, which is some more furniture that they need for that library. The second one is the middle school has requested to replace the auditorium curtains, and the high school is requesting to replace the divider curtain in the gym and the PA system. So those requests with the middle and the high school come to $47,827. And then the final one in this particular category is high school classroom furniture. So this continues the cycle of replacement for the high school furniture. It's chairs and desks, moving towards more flexible seating in the classroom. The furniture is about 30 years old. And I've been told that some of the students cannot fit in the current desks. So this is something that, again, a continuation of the cycle of replacement with that high school. That total for the other equipment for this year is $110,827. Moving on to major repairs. The high school is requesting a replacement of the interior doors and hardware for both the boys and the girls' gymnasiums. They feel that the doors from the lobby to the gym are becoming a little bit of a safety issue. Said they would like replacement of those interior doors and hardware. That comes to about $28,000. The high school, the replacement of the turf field. The turf field was installed in 2013. It is about 10 to 20 years is the recommended replacement. That's the recommended replacement. The turf field is reaching its 14-year mark. However, the warranty is already up. The warranty was up at 10 years. So the request is to replace the high school turf field. When I spoke to the principal at the high school, when they've had to patch some of the areas, they literally have to mow it down a little to get it to when they put the new patch in, because it's really starting to wear down. So that one is a little bit of a high hitter. That is $905,000. So the major repairs category is $933,000. Building and field renovation. So in this area, this is where we have the Taylor School. As you know, that MSBA project for the Taylor School, we have been approved on that. It's $1 million for FY27, which is the preliminary costs, I believe, for the architect and the owner's project manager. That's $1 million. There's also a request for the connection to the town sewer for the Taylor Elementary School. And this is the extension of the sewer line from the North High Street to the building with new holding tanks and pumps. The funding source for this $100,000 for the DPW garage renovation and expansion project excess balance. The
No,
project.
that's changed.
Oh, it's changed since
Yeah,
last.
that
Okay,
was
that
the
one
big-
changed.
Yeah, so I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'll make, so basically the hope was that we had two projects that were, one that was totally closed at this point, which was the Borough School, has about $635,000 left in the account. The other one is the DPW, which is coming to a close, but isn't closed at this point in time. When we ran this by bond counsel said because feasibility studies are considered to have a 5-year life, unlike a construction project, which has a 20-year life. And the bonds were on those two projects were 20-year bonds. So we aren't able to use the feasibility or to use the money on the feasibility study. So we had to turn around and go a different direction. The different direction obviously is to go after free cash for it. We would then use those funds if the town approves the construction project when that comes across. We would then use the funds at that time. They can only be used on other building projects with a 20-year life. So it's not like we could use it for town budgets or any other need because it's borrowed money. The only thing I did speak to Marie on, and she can speak to this further, was we, Marie and the finance team have been building the capital stabilization fund by using free cash to increase it. It's at about $1.5 million now. The intent, I believe, was to increase that again this year. However, because we have to use free cash to do the feasibility study, if we didn't do that, it's kind of the same thing. We're either using the stabilization fund to pay for this, or we're not putting money into it. Now, that would only be about half of it, so that's not, making this 100% whole. But so, Marie, if you disagree or if you have a different thought on that, please add to that.
Bill, just so I want to correct my notes, I thought the connection to the town sewer was going to be with that. Is that not going to be covered?
No,
by
both of
that?
them have to be free
So
cash.
they're both going to be
Yeah.
free cash. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll
So,
correct my notes.
and as far as the town sewer goes, so everybody, and I'm only speaking from the buildings committee side at this point because I'm the chair of that. So we did the same thing working with Chris and the sewer department. On the borough, we were able to connect the borough project to sewer before we actually got into construction, saving us a fairly significant amount because we weren't going through general contractors who would have multiple levels of markups on it. We did obviously have to go out to bid and get a contract on it and go, make it legal that way. But it significantly saves money in number one, and number two, it makes you that much closer, or further along in the project as far as you're going. So that's what we're doing. Chris, when he was doing Walnut Street up to the golf course, he was able, with funds that he had, to come down North High and end up being basically at the back doors of the Taylor School. So we need to go from North High down to where our sewer lines currently come out to a septic system and connect there. So it would be pumps, chambers, that type of thing, and obviously the installation of a line from North High to the Taylor School. So that's what the 100,000 is, and the feasibility side again is the first phase of the MSBA project, which is also subject to reimbursement if you get all the way through the project and approve it at town meeting. But that's down the road. You don't get that money for quite some time. So those are those two things. Sorry, Karen, I didn't want to.
No, that's okay. That's good because I'll change my notes. I thought it was the sewer was going to be with that, but now I know they're both going to be free cash. Correct.
Go ahead.
I said correct, they're both free
Yes,
cash.
yes, everything's free cash.
Okay, and then the final thing that I have is the field renovation, $30,000 for the Stather Field, which is behind the Ahern. Chris, I don't know if you want to speak a little bit to this one, but that's $30,000 for the Stather Field.
Yeah, so just on some of the fields in town, we have some that the user groups in town kind of have almost first right of refusal. At the Ahern, it's mostly youth soccer. The Friends Field, which is over to the left as you're coming in from Chestnut Street, that's kind of their premier field. They use that for the older kids. Youth soccer has been putting money into that field every year. They pay for the irrigation, they pay for aerating, they pay for fertilizer, they pay for some of the extras besides just mowing the field. The Stather Field, which is the larger field out back, is really just used for recess, gym for the school, and then the smaller kids, kindergarten through second grade, for youth soccer on that field. That one has kind of been neglected the last couple of years. And needs some love to get it back to a good spot where we can continue to maintain it. Years ago, it was known as the rock pile, and it was just that. It was a patch of dirt that had rocks everywhere. So we've got it to a good spot, but the last couple of years, youth soccer has not had funding to put towards it. The schools has not had funding to put towards it. The DPW has not had budget to put towards it. So I did ask that Karen put in some funding, whether it was through operating or capital, to bring that field kind of back to where it needs to be. So we're looking to do some significant aerating, top dressing, overseeding. These are things that are really an annual thing, but this one needs a little extra love this upcoming season.
Okay, thanks, Chris. And that's the request from the school. It is the $3,154,555, with the bulk of it really being the Taylor School project and the turf field, which is really bumping it up this year. But if anybody has any other questions, I certainly try to answer them.
On the sewer for the Taylor School, I was going back through my notes, and Bill, I know we talked quick at Permanent Building Committee a month or two ago, and I said 100,000. I went back. The pump that we installed at the community center was actually a $50,000 line item in that bid. So I know we were at 100, but I think that's going to need to be close to 150. It's about a 700-foot run. So even if we're at $100 a foot plus the 50, we're probably 125, 130 to get that done. So I think when we look at that number should probably be 150 as a request.
Okay.
Chris, you're going in the wrong direction.
I know. Listen, I got some things. I know I'm going in the wrong direction on that one.
So Karen, well, I have a question. So the high school, they use either the stadium door, or not the stadium, the gym doors or auditorium doors that you said there was a safety issue with. How much was that request? And who is it that's seen or concurred? What is the safety issue? And who is it that's seen or concurred that it's a safety issue?
I did. I don't know if Tony's still here.
Tony could speak to the safety
I did
piece
speak
on
to
those
Tony
doors.
about that.
Yeah, so,
It's 28,000, and then I'll let Tony speak a little
right,
bit.
so
Yeah.
them doors take a lot of abuse. The principal, Jim Donovan, he was very concerned because they've been beat. I don't believe they were done in the renovation when it was done in 2010. So these are actually doors that go way back from 1972. But they definitely they need some loving, new frames and everything, because it's the whole frame issue. The whole doors are all coming apart. The steel doors, they're not the wood doors, which they did throughout the whole school. But that area right there, them doors are pretty much original from back in 1972. So they need love, and we got a price for them to come in and replace the doors, frames, and everything. Just because security these days. And
How many sets of doors are there, Tony?
huh?
How many sets of doors are there?
Let me see. 1, 2, 3. I believe 4 or 5, and then there's ones going into the locker rooms too. So they weren't done during that original renovation because they were different doors. There were steel doors. There's not many steel doors in the building except for the exterior that we've done. And these are the only ones inside the gym.
Yeah, the original renovation actually originally did not include renovating the gym. It was because the numbers came in lower on the major renovation for the science wing and the rest of the building, that at the end we were able to actually contract for the gym floor to be redone at that point in time. Again, we kept the bleachers because that was not incorporated in the renovation, and that's probably why the doors were not renovated at the same time.
Right.
All right, thank you.
I have
Oh,
a
go ahead,
couple of questions. Going back to the buses, I don't want to go into a controversial subject, but the whole Bluebird versus not Bluebird, and you mentioned a cost savings. Is this something, have we worked this all through, and are we actually counting on savings? Are we going with Bluebird? And Chris, like, how's this all working out? Like,
so
do
I
we
know,
have to buy
like,
more expensive buses because, or is there, are we going to start moving to Bluebird, or is this something you'd prefer to see us not do that?
I think we're too new into the Bluebirds to make that jump and end up with starting to build a fleet of them. They didn't come in the door in a good fashion. They both failed their first inspection, but they are back. They did. Anderson Motors, who's the supplier vendor for that, did come out. They made it right. They got them to pass inspection. They are working with them in the fleet now. So it's, in my opinion, I'd like to, where we can't order these until July anyway. I'd like the option of trying to get through the school year and having that full funding available in case we decide that the internationals are the right decision to move forward with, versus, it's a fairly nominal, I say nominal, it's, it's 60,000 to 60,000. But it's a fairly nominal cost difference. So it's still up in the air as far as which direction we go.
Okay.
So I'd like to add to that, and because I'm the one being blamed for allowing the schools to go to the Bluebird to start with. The reality is Bluebirds we had a lot of trouble with 10, 12 years ago. They were really subpar. And that's why we went to the internationals. Unfortunately, the whole COVID thing created a massive change in what was available for buses and what the price tag was. Buses currently are about double what they were pre-COVID. The reality is Bluebird has made some major shifts. We, as a town, working with the DPW, made a significant change when we decided to go away from diesel engines and go to gas engines. My understanding at this point is that Bluebird is going to be using a Ford gas engine, and so is are the IC buses. They're going to be using the exact same engine going forward. So if that's the case, we're talking about transmissions, which potentially will be the same as well. And then we're talking about a box as far as, braking systems, wheels and stuff like that aren't going to be that dissimilar. I have a real hard time with the money we have that, and I understand, the maintenance department would love to have everything be identical. So all your parts on the shelf are easier. I pushed for this when we had on maintenance issues for buildings and stuff. I get it, but I don't know how we justify $60,000 on a vehicle that should be basically the same. It's not the diesel engine that we used to have in the Bluebirds that we had a lot of trouble with. So, I mean, that's my 2 cents. I think fiscally, we need to really work through this, and especially before we spend $60,000, we need to work through this before, how we're going to handle this going forward. We just built a state-of-the-art facility that should be able to handle any piece of equipment we have.
So I will just say the spec and quote that Karen submitted was for a Cummins engine with an Allison transmission, not a Ford on that international.
This year, they're switching after that.
Okay.
That's
That's what we've been told.
I did, just to jump in on it, because I did talk to the Bluebird rep, saying to him that, you know, we bought these 2 Bluebirds. I need to make sure that you are making sure that they're going to be, if there's any problems, that they're done quickly. I did talk to him about that. He did give me a pretty long list of schools that are using Bluebirds, but I leave all that up to, I'm not a mechanic, but I did speak to the Bluebird rep saying that if there was any issues and they weren't going to fix them, that would be a problem in us going forward. And he did, some of the towns that currently have the Bluebirds is Weston, Boston, Sturbridge, Wakefield, Randolph, Linfield, Peabody, Carver, Wareham, Pembroke, Lowell, Pioneer Valley Education, Ludlow, Beverly, Bristol, Plymouth. He gave me a lot of lists because I did indicate to him that we have been using internationals. I want to make sure they're going to be a good bus. So he is quite aware that if there's any issues, we want them straightened out pretty quickly.
And I'll just, the fiscal responsibility piece, I know that there's a number of things from the school side that are, you know, put forward for a CIP, and some of them are a lot less. And so $60,000 savings could end up 2 other projects. So just trying to think about stretching the dollar the best that we can and being fiscally responsible. If they are on the same level, then that is a considerable difference in cost.
Now, in the past, have the school, switching off the buses, switching back to some of these other things like the field and whatnot, in the past, did the school not cover some of this stuff in their own budget? I mean, just looking at some of the smaller stuff, I mean, has CIP always paid for the curtains and, you know, because it adds up to a fair amount for these smaller items? And
it's currently, like, on that middle curtain right now, they're paying to rent that each time on the auditorium there on that stage. So it's a rental. So we have had those curtains, different ones, replaced through CIP in the past. I know Bill can speak very specifically to the ones that we've done.
I mean, yeah, we did a lot, like at the high school, we had to replace almost all of the curtains. Fire coating was part of the issue with it. But the curtains we're talking about are curtains that have been there since 2002. And they do get a lot of wear. But to your point, Paige, we have been fortunate in the past, basically, especially in the last 6 or 7 years, when we had just so many grants coming at us, that we were able to have money left over at the end of the year that we would tackle a lot of these little projects. Unfortunately, all that stuff is dried up, at least from my understanding on the school side. I'm not involved on a day-to-day basis. So the ability to have money at the end of the year that doesn't get returned because they can knock off some of these projects has greatly diminished. But in the past, that's how we've done some of these smaller ones, was basically using any savings we were able to cobble from, you know, each school or, you know, from utilities or whatever that just didn't, you know, come to fruition, so that we were able to hit some of these smaller items.
One of the other things, well, I certainly wasn't there in the past, but in doing the FY27 budget, as most of you have probably seen the presentations and such, with the payroll taking up so much of the budget, the expenditures are negative 150,000. So with inflation and stuff, that's not that easy to get your expenditures down 150,000. So that I do know that in the past, from the history that I saw, they were able to do some of that at the end of the year. And I can't say that that's going to be something that's going to be continuing in the future, when we're trying to really sift through different expenditures to try to get it lower and be able to keep it a sustainable budget for the town. Because it is that the expenditures are down 150,000 over fiscal year 26.
I guess I would ask then, I was going to ask if, like we have with others, I mean, this is a $3.1 million request. If you had to cut, knowing we can't fund everything, what would you cut, if anything?
With the buses, I mean, we do have a little bit of money in that from one of the past capital requests. There was a bus that um, I don't think they had the availability to buy one. I might be able to cut the busing down. So even if you took the $60,000 down, I think it probably could cover it even if you went with the international. So I would say cut a little on the busing. I mean, I know it's a tough hit on that turf field. I mean, that's up to the town. I've been being told that that turf field is getting near really needing to be replaced. So I can only go from what I've been told, but I think that would be the area I'd probably say if you're going to have to cut, then cut a little of the busing.
On the turf field, do we have any recent compaction tests or anything like that? Are we doing that on an annual basis, or just, I know that without football on there, it's definitely extended the life of that field as a benefit. But just wondering if we have any compaction tests that are saying that it's, I know we can, add rubber and fluff and groom that every year to kind of bring that back if it's got spots that are starting to fail the compaction test. But just curious if we have any data on that.
Yeah.
Tony, do you?
Yeah, last time I did that, Chris, was probably about 4 years ago. And it was getting, and I had it all fluffed and everything. It's a good chunk of money too to get them out there to do that. It's like a $6,000. And that was before COVID. I can imagine what it is now. But they will come in. But it's mostly it's not so much as that. Well, that is part of it, but also the rips. The material is starting to rip apart. In certain areas like that. That's what the problem is. The carpet is starting. It's had its wear and tear. And I got to say, the lacrosse doesn't really. It's lacrosse that really beats up them fields more than the football. But like I said, it's definitely it's getting there. It's getting there. I mean, we can go a year, we might be able to go another year, but it's just gets dangerous. Or do I invest, 6, 8, 10, whatever it's going to cost to have them come in here and fluff it and maybe get another year out of it? That's another option too. But it's got to be done sooner or later. So.
Yeah, I think Chris, I think you're onto something, but I think the issue really, as Tony just pointed out, it's not, we do, and actually I think we still do. Do we still have material that are sitting in the trailers that?
Yeah, no, we felt
cover?
Mike does a great job keeping
Right.
it, but he comes to me and he said, Tony, and especially I think too, also as time goes, there's areas that the underneath is starting to settle a little. So kind of gives a little divot, but that's something when they come in, they go over it again and it's just over the years, wear and tear, and like I said, the lacrosse really beats it up.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I think they originally told us, and that's why the 10-year warranty. They originally told us that the turf itself, typically is good for 10 years. Now, to your point, Chris, if football was playing on it, we probably would have maxed out closer to the 10 years. Football does play on it; they practice on it, but they don't play games. The real games that way. I think this is one of those items that we probably, and I'm gonna just say my own opinion, we could probably push this if they did a little bit of work on it, but it's the carpet itself that I'm the most concerned about that is not holding together. Remember, it's rubber, guys. It's plastic. It's getting the sun on a daily basis, so it deteriorates over time. And as Tony said, we were very fortunate to have one of our maintenance guys who is a fanatic about trying to resew it and restuff it and stuff like that. But it's going to get to a point. It may not necessarily be there today, but it's very close. I would prefer to push this off, and even if we're just fortunate to have a significant free cash position coming out of this coming year, then maybe we could revisit it at a special town meeting. I haven't heard from Brandon yet as to how much money we have, but right now the requests on free cash are almost $5.6 million. I don't think we have anywhere near that available to us. So, I think we're going to have to make some hard choices here coming out of this. So, maybe it is smart to give just a few dollars to do the whole, refluff, refurbish one last time. and see what we can get out of it.
It can also damage it too, but we'll do our best on that. And also
Right.
to keep in mind, the longer every year goes by, that field price goes up.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, if we did it 5 years ago, we've already got it done for 600,000. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But because of pre-COVID and all that, everything just goes up. So that's just something to just kind of
Yep.
keep in mind.
Bill, if I could just jump in real quick. So when looking at our free cash, if we don't make any additional contributions to the capital stabilization fund, you have about 3,960,000. So looking at all of the requests, you have to cut about 1,630,000.
Right.
So-
And that's going to be hard if we leave this one in there. So,
Yeah.
and I would say the Taylor School, from the community's point of view, is probably a higher priority at this point in time. But
Could
Yeah.
somebody just explain where we are with the Taylor School? Somebody's out of the loop entirely.
Yeah.
I know the feasibility. I just don't understand where we are.
sure. So we applied 4 times to the MSBA for the grant program to be able to fully renovate like we did at the borough. On the 4th time, they finally accepted us into the program. The initial phase, which we are about to start into, they kind of been delaying us. But the beginning of May, we'll start the first phase, which basically is a lot of data collection. Same thing we did at the borough with what's the core program, what are you looking to accomplish in your renovation expansion, getting some minor, not minor, but getting some cost estimates that are very preliminary cost estimates on the entire cost. And then after that phase is completed and the state has approved it, you go to the next phase, which is the feasibility phase, which is where the money is required. So rather than waiting and doing it at a special town meeting, we did it the last time with the borough the same way. My opinion is we should be doing that at an annual town meeting. So if we ask for the money now, I know we'll get through the first phase, and in the fall, we would already have the money to start the process. If not, you have to wait, because then you have to have that money approved before the MSBA will allow you to go to the next stage anyway. So, we know how the path works, and we're just trying to make sure we stay on a similar path that we can keep this thing moving. It's still going to be, if you look at from start to finish with the borough project, it was somewhere between 5 and 6 years it took us to get through the whole thing.
It would be like, I'll throw out something like 2020, 2030 or 3102 before you would actually have to come back and say we need
Oh, no.
millions of dollars.
No. We would be coming back. If the process works the way it did on the borough, we would be back to the town with numbers likely in 2028 for
Okay.
what the estimated cost was. And then you start the actual bidding process, and that's what takes another 3 to 4 years.
Got it. Oh, you need the approval for the spend to get the bidding going.
Right.
That makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
Anybody
So
have any?
we have that on the, if you look at 28, we have that estimate that Bill and worked with me on. I think it was 45 million minus the 20 million for the MSBA. Does that sound correct, Bill?
Yeah, well, we thought it was, but after having conversations with 2 architects recently, those numbers have jumped significantly. So again, until we actually have a plan, it's hard to say.
Yeah,
But
that's
they-
next year anyway.
Yeah,
so.
but they're saying, quite honestly, based on what they're seeing in a per square foot cost, even compared to what we did at the borough if we were to build the exact same thing today, it would probably have been just under double what we paid for the borough. So we're hoping we can control it like we've controlled other projects. We have done much better than most communities in our area with our projects because of the way we manage them. I think I said at one point in time, when you look at what we've spent on every building in town in the renovations and new constructions, we have spent less than most towns spend on a single high school. So that's a great thing to the town and the committee that my guys that have been working on this for years, but it's still, the numbers are just getting stupid. They really are.
Yeah.
Okay. So committee members and others, any questions for anybody from schools? Okay, let's move on to DPW. Chris Gallagher.
All right.
You also emailed out a document, I see.
I did. Yep. So I just replied to Katie's email from an hour or so ago. So we should have that too. I do have Kevin Davis on. He's the assistant DPW director, and Bob Worthley as well as the water superintendent. So we're going to kind of bounce back and forth between the three of us on this list here. So with that, first up, we have the Commercial Street and Central Street redesign. So I'm going to let Kevin take the first two.
Good morning. So for those that don't know me, my name's Kevin Davis. I'm the assistant DPW director and town engineer. Nice to meet you all. This is my first CIP. So thank you. So we're going to be starting at Commercial Street and Central Street redesign. So the funding request for this one is $250,000. This project focuses on intersection improvements at Commercial Street and Central Street to address traffic operations and safety. Improvements that we will be evaluating will be a roundabout configuration or a signalized intersection improvement. The request for $250,000 would fund the study and a 25% design. And the reason for that 25% design would be to make us eligible for TIP funding. For those that don't know what TIP funding, it's Transportation Improvement Plan, which is through Mass DOT and the MPO. Any questions specifically on this? The $250,000 came from an engineering estimate that we received from TEC, and it would be used to upgrade, hopefully get a design together to upgrade the intersection.
So I could just provide a little backup on this. Chief Grace lost his internet at public safety, so but I'm texting with him. We're hoping for a rotary. We'll see, but we're hoping for a rotary, it was his suggestion apparently years ago. It's something we've talked about, and I think it came to my mind, and when I talked to Chris, why I pushed it forward now is that we've gone ahead and improved the Walnut Street signal, and we have improved traffic flow there. We've done the restriping out over in front of the Ocean State Plaza, and now really the bottleneck and really the more safety concern is all those people trying to take the turns there. So one of the things we thought of is taking a look at this and seeing if we could start progressing towards a design to figure out that one intersection, because we have really started to improve that corridor safety wise and flow wise. So I did text, and Chief Grace is in full support from a safety perspective. He could provide numbers and whatnot as needed, but that's kind of the reason that this is showing up today.
Yeah, and I did take a look at the Mass DOT query and visualization for crash impacts, and there has been a couple minor accidents over there and one major accident back in 2018. So it's definitely an area that has received some safety concerns.
What does 25% design mean?
So 25% design means that the design itself isn't fully conceptualized, but it's enough of a design and a concept plan of what we want to lay out as far as roadway and layout of the actual right-of-way, that we could submit it to Mass DOT and MPO to get the TIP funding. So it's not going to include elevations of like catch basins and stormwater design necessarily.
It'll give you the plan. It's the first step. This is a Mass DOT intersection. So anytime you walk through something with Mass DOT, they want a 25% design, 75% design, 90% design. So it gives them the option to review as you go forward. So this 25% would tell us, can we put a roundabout there? Is the speed and the area appropriate for a roundabout in that intersection? It's one of these things where the 25% and it's really a Mass DOT thing. They're just looking for their chance to review and then review again and then review again before they actually approve it as a final 100% design for bidding.
Okay,
Chris,
thanks.
can I ask one question too? My concerns or issues with stormwater drainage that comes off of from Carpenter Street. Does the water go through that area in pipes? And if so, would that have to be addressed at the same time? Because I'd hate to have us do a whole redesign here and then all of a sudden someone tells us that we can't dig it back up to fix something that's not really working.
Yeah, so that area is all wetlands off the left side, or I guess opposite the Central Street side, at that T intersection there. There is a stream that does flow through there. There's no pipe network in there. Once it comes off the backside of the high school and the charter school, there's really no pipe network back there. It's all just fields and wetlands. And it brings it all down to the pond, across from, or right by the farm stand.
So does the water off of Carpenter and what's that other
Leonard Street.
Huh?
Leonard Street.
Yeah.
That stuff does come out to 140 and does run down there. And I think there's a outlet just prior to that intersection. I don't think it actually runs through there.
Okay, so my question would be just to make sure that if any of that is in that area, that we make sure we review that as part of this so that it gets done at the right time. Even if you don't do something above it, but that you at least have done the stuff in the area that you're doing the construction.
Yeah, and that was part of that $250,000 ask is to look at the drainage. The drainage would be part of it, especially if we were to put a roundabout in there. You certainly have to address the drainage when you put a giant circle in the road and reconfigure it. So that would be part of it.
And would this be a circle similar to the one that they built over near Jake and Joe's? That
most likely the issue is the speed. That becomes the question. Over there, you don't have that higher speed. It's not 40 coming into town. Over there, it's slower. So it would probably be similar to that in size.
And we have enough land there to do it?
We do. Because that's the old Route 140 used to turn left onto Central Street and go down the backside.
Okay.
So when they re-laid out Commercial Street, they left a big swath of land. All that open grass area that we mow and maintain is all public layout within Mass DOT layout.
Okay, thank you. Next.
All
right. The next intersection redesign we're looking at is the South Street Route 106 intersection. So the funding request for this is $425,000. This is in part because the town has been awarded a $500,000 complete street grant funding. So based on our engineering estimate, the 425 will make us whole on both the design and construction on this project. The purpose of this is to create 2 T intersections coming into Route 106, the new sidewalks, marked crosswalks, as well as RRFBs, which are rectangular rapid flashing beacons, basically pedestrian activated high visibility flashing lights, improved sight lines, and general safety improvements to the site. We're hoping, according to the schedule we currently have, is to have bidding anticipated in 2026 with construction planned for spring of 2027. This is part of the Massachusetts Complete Streets program. It's definitely a needed area of traffic concern, recent accidents included, and we're hoping to get CIP funding to make us whole on this project so we can complete construction.
All right. Any questions on that? All right. Moving on. Next up, Payson Field lighting upgrade. So the lower Payson Field, there's a baseball field down there, full-size diamond, as well as just open green space. I think the charter school rents soccer field space on that and hosts their fall high school soccer games down there, as well as practices. Youth football uses that space as well as just anybody in that space. So what we've noticed is since that field complex was redone probably about 15 years ago now, just as I was getting here 13, 14 years ago, about half of those 90 lights are out. So it's probably a combination of bulbs as well as some of the other fixture components. So we had looked at last fall just replacing the bulbs. We had gotten a quote of about 20 to 25,000 to go in, with a lift and have a company replace roughly 45 bulbs. That was kind of put on hold as we got later in the fall. It didn't get done. So we kind of started looking at, do we just do a full LED lighting upgrade over there? We have some various pricing. Tony had some quotes on material and labor in the $150,000 range. I had some quotes a lot higher than that from a different vendor. So we have a submittal for, well, 150,000 is what's in the CIP. That would cover the quotes that Tony had received to actually change out the fixtures. There's about, like I said, 90 fixtures over there, and do kind of a one-time upgrade to that lighting system instead of replacing half the bulbs now with the expectation that the other half are going to fail in the next couple of years and we're going to be back out there. So there would be some energy savings on this going LED from the large wattage metal halides. So that's what we were looking at, about 150,000, and was the request.
I will say that even though they're not LEDs over at the turf field at the high school, the newer technology has really lasted much longer, and gives you some flexibility. I think at the high school, we're able to run an A or B cycle where you're either running half the lights and it's still sufficient for a lot of the practices and stuff like that, or full lighting if you're in a competition type thing. So, I mean, to your point, you'd probably spend 50, 60,000 if you decided to do all of them, which you should be doing them all at the same time. You shouldn't really spend the money to have somebody come out and do half of them and then know that one could go out the next day. So, you know, we're looking at an increase from that point, but still, it probably would last you the next 15 years.
And this was one that Recreation was actually had voted back in the fall to do those bulb replacements. I think they, like I said, they voted, I think, about 20 or 25,000 from their own revolving account to do some of this work. So maybe there's some seed money if we just decide to just replace all the bulbs. There's looks like probably about 50% of the cost could be covered from that vote that the Recreation took previously.
Would the Recreation put their 25 towards this too?
I'm sure they would. I'm sure we could talk them into that.
I mean, obviously they're renting it, so they're getting some money from the fields itself. So, okay, thank you.
All right. Next up, we have some tree and park equipment. So this is kind of a combined request. We have $125,000 request, and we were looking at replacing 2 lawnmowers. There's a 6-foot Toro mower, ride-on mower. We have a 5-foot mower with a time rake on the back of it. We have a stand-on blower, a trailer, a stand-on spreader for seed fertilizer, to kind of expedite the process that we're currently using. And then we have a utility vehicle on there that we were intending to park at the booth that we could use with a small dump on the back of it, that we could use around the booth, move up to the high school, kind of drive around just that complex really in general. That one, I'm gonna pull off the top because we're utilizing a police vehicle that they're removing from their fleet. We're able to take that from them and repurpose that through DPW. So this is going to go from $100,000 or $125,000 to $100,000 request. We're going to take $25,000 off the top. All right. Any questions on tree and park equipment? All right. Next up, we have a 1-ton dump truck. This is for a tree and park. This is replacing the request is for $145,000. This is replacing a 2018 Dodge Ram. Our standard lead time at this point in time is at least 12 months from when we order. And this would follow our standard schedule of replacement of 8 to 10 years on these smaller 1-ton vehicles. So this is something that's used year round by Tree and Park. During this time of year, we have a tree box on it for chipping, so they'll haul the wood chipper with it as they're dropping trees around town. We do Christmas trees with it, as well as we plow with it. And then they use it year round during the mowing season, for moving material around, transporting every day. It's a daily use vehicle. So by the time we would actually get this vehicle in the fleet, it would be close to 10 years old, which is about our limit. And this is one, we have this one along with another Dodge Ram we've had some issues with, transmission wise. So that's been an issue as well. It's been gone a lot of the time that we've had it in service over the last 8 years. All right, moving on. I have a street sweeper. This is a $355,000 request. We use this at least twice a year. We sweep every road in town. It is a stormwater management requirement that we do sweep our streets twice per year. We also use this throughout the year. We use it prior to line painting. We use it after community events, the Founders Day parade. It goes out directly after the parade, cleans up the streets there. And then we just use it throughout the year. We use it for construction. This machine takes a beating. The dust, the debris it's picking up, the leaf litter, the construction debris, it does take a beating. And we are looking to replace that machine in this upcoming year.
So it is a replacement. You're getting rid. Didn't we buy the original one under a lease where we were paying for 5 years or something?
We did.
Okay.
And just when we talk about how much things have increased, when we did that, I think that was about 7 years ago we did that. We paid with the lease, it was about $225,000. So there's a 50% increase in 7 or 8 years on this machine.
I'm not a fan of leases, but I guess I'm just questioning maybe Marie, if something like that we should be doing or something we shouldn't. I mean, you're paying the same thing over time. It's just, probably paying more, obviously, but okay. I'll leave it.
Great. Next up, we have a 10-wheel dump truck. This is a $395,000 request. This replaces a 2015 6-wheel dump truck. So this is a little upgrade on that one vehicle. The size of the truck increases, the amount of material that it can handle increases, the amount of salt during winter events increases. So when it leaves the yard, it can stay out longer, doesn't have to come back and refill as much. So some of the far extents of town, you go from Elm Street down to South Street, or you go down to East Foxborough, that vehicle can stay out longer without having to come back empty. These trucks, we're currently experiencing a 2-year lead time. We have two of these 6-wheel dump trucks that we ordered back in 2024 that we still have not seen yet. So these are similar to police and fire, what they're experiencing on the ambulances and fire engines. These large equipment is a long lead time as well. And so by the time we get this a 2015 vehicle, in 2.5 years, will be in our 12 to 15 year replacement. These are vehicles that, again, with the salt usage, you can see if you have the pictures up, the rust on the tailgate, the calcium, magnesium chloride that we use as our de-icer as well, is a very harsh chemical that does start to rot these trucks. Hopefully the intention is that we can prolong life with our new wash bay down here on Elm Street and start to get all the salt off of these trucks a lot more frequently. Really, school buses, everything has been using that. So we're looking for $395,000. This is to replace an existing vehicle.
Hey, Chris, you lay the cash out on these deals now for delivery in 2 or 3 years, or how does it work? Down payment, or what?
Nope.
What happens?
We just once the funding is approved at town meeting, the new fiscal year opens up. As soon as the new fiscal year opens, we can create a PO. Brandon and Marie create a PO. That PO goes out to the vendor. They sign it. We sign it, and then we wait. And we don't pay them until the vehicle comes in.
For payment at delivery, okay.
So that's something we have. the last couple of years, started to build in some sort of contingency. You know, on the larger trucks, they're pretty good about holding their price, but some of the smaller trucks, when you cross over from one model year to the next, their quotes, sometimes from when they give it to us in December to the time we order it in July to when we actually get it the next calendar year, sometimes that price can increase. So we have built in a small contingency, which is allowed within some of the state contracts that we have procurement wise, just to make sure we're
Maria,
covered.
what happens to the cash that we have for these kind of purchases, fire equipment and dump trucks, et cetera? I assume we've gathered it through the tax, you know, through the town meeting, and we have it, we sign a PO and we're holding that cash aside. Is that what's happening?
No, I mean it's all a part of just your overall cash. But what happens when town meeting approves an appropriation for CIP is we in our ledger system, so Munis, we set up a separate account where we load this money. So in our financials, we show that, you know, these funds are committed for these projects, so they don't get spent on something else.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, next up, we have a Chevy 3500 utility body. This is a $125,000 request. This vehicle is an existing 2015, so it's 11 years old at this point in time. This is used by our equipment maintenance division as a service truck for the field. They run to get parts with it. The truck is loaded with tools, a compressor, so anytime something breaks down out in the field, they're able to take this truck fairly quickly and get out to service anything that's out there and try to get it either back up and running or get it back to the shop where we can fix it. Again, with these smaller trucks, these are still about a 1-year lead time. And by the time we get this, it'll be 2027. It'll be about 12 years old, and a little over our average 8 to 10 year schedule for replacement of these smaller trucks. And as you can see, it's starting to, if you have the pictures up, it's starting to rust out. The body itself is starting to rust on the doors, the tailgates, you know, has exposed rust on it. So it does, this one does have a plow. So all of our trucks have plows. They all go out during the storms. They all get exposed to the salt throughout the winter months. All right, I think I've got one more vehicle under general fund, and this is for a catch basin cleaner. This is a piece of equipment that sits on a 1990 truck. This is a clamshell catch basin cleaner. So it has a series of cables and a device on the back that opens up the catch basins, goes in, and just like the arcade games, goes in the catch basin, scoops out material, puts it in the back of the truck. We use it sparingly as we're doing construction projects, as we're doing catch basin repairs. We'll bring this out. We'll utilize it to clean out the stuff we're working on. We do utilize a vendor to come in and clean all of our catch basins on an annual basis. That is another stormwater management requirement from EPA and DEP. So we are cleaning everything through a vendor. This one is used on our own sparingly as we need it or as follow-up. This would be something that would be built on the same Mack chassis that we have the other trucks on, and then Stetco is the vendor that would actually come in and outfit that catch basin cleaner on it. I did actually going in the wrong direction. The submission was for about 300,000. When they actually came in with a quote, it was 395,000. This is again a larger truck. This is an 18 to 24 month lead time. And obviously, since this one's been around since 1990, this one is well over our 8 to 10 or 10 to 15 year replacement schedule. With that, I think that's it for the equipment on the general fund. So I'm going to, next up is our pavement management program. I'm going to send that back over to Kevin.
Before we do that, can we just talk a little bit about keeping in this category of free, you know, where we're in general fund? So Chris, $1 million question or $1.63 million question. What could you, I know you already gave up 25, but then you took back 90. So, you know, Is there anything, like if you had to cut something out of here, or if we have to try to do, and I know we will later, but your thoughts on sort of like the low hanging for the lowest priority here?
Yeah, I mean, I think the catch basin cleaner is the first to go. It's the oldest thing we have down here, but we use it as sparingly as we do because it's the oldest piece of equipment, and we do have vendors that can come in fairly routinely and quickly to provide that same service. So until this one may get to a point where the MS4, the stormwater permit through EPA changes in the next year or two, and we have to address this. There is conversation about needing to use a Vector truck to haul all of that material out of those catch basins. The current method is with this clamshell style vehicle. And what happens is you pull the debris out and then all the liquids just leak on the ground wherever you're driving. There is conversation at the EPA and DEP level that they don't like that, and they would like us to capture not only the material, but the water, the liquid as well. At that point in time, we would be looking at either changing this request to a Vector truck, which is probably twice this cost, or utilizing a vendor that comes in and does that on our behalf, similar to what they do now. So the catch basin cleaner would probably be the first one that I would give up.
Thank you.
Chris, can I ask a question on if you hire, what you do, hire outside service people to do it? If they did it all and you didn't do anything on your own, what would be the, annual uptick in your budget?
So right now we spend about $50,000 a year on a vendor to come in. They clean all the catch basins, and then we store and stockpile the material in-house. If we were to have them haul that material off site, we'd probably double that. We'd be about $100,000. Again, the way we do this now is they come in, we've got just under 2,000 catch basins that get cleaned every year. We're paying $25 a basin roughly. So we're right in that $50,000 range every year for them to come and do this. If we were to take that on internally, we would, similar to the street sweeping, probably end up doing as much as we could during regular hours, but it would be an overtime basis to add that task back into the department.
So to your point, though, does that even make sense that we would spend $400,000, especially where there could be a change coming forward?
Yeah, and that's why this truck's been on the list before, and it, I don't think it makes sense at this time to spend that money on this piece of equipment. I think we wait out EPA to see what the changes are, and then we figure out how we move forward on the stormwater management side from there.
And how long is that going to take, you think, for EPA? No, is that imminent this year, or is that, whenever they get to it?
It's not. We're in, I think, Kevin, year 7 of a 10-year permit.
Yeah, we just finished year 7. Yep.
So we just finished year 7. We're in year 8 now. They're trying to revise it before the 10 years expires. The last time they did this, it was a 5-year permit, and it took them 13 years to get the new permit out. So I'm not sure. So I think we wait them out. We're meeting the requirements. We're doing what we're supposed to. There is more coming infrastructure wise on the stormwater side of things. It's a large conversation the town needs to have as far as how we fund not only the requirements, but the actual infrastructure, the pipes in the grounds, the dams that we have. It's a much larger conversation that we need to have as a town. All right. Any other questions on equipment? Okay. All right. I'm going to turn it back to Kevin for pavement management.
So we have pavement management program. We have 4 general sources of income for the program. We have the Chapter 90, which, as you recall, last year we had a 50% uptick in our Chapter 90 from Governor Maura Healey. That was back in January 24, 2025. So Chapter 90 is now anticipated at $930,000. We have our fair share tax at $310,000. our TNC fund, which is the Transportation Network Company revenue. That's from, Uber and Lyft. We get a portion of any rides starting here in Foxborough. That's going to be approximately $10,000, and then we'll be receiving a contribution from the general fund for $350,000, resulting in a $1.6 million pavement management program. This has been an ongoing contribution from Foxborough to try to add more projects to both paving and redesign in order to improve our roadways and pedestrian safety. Any questions on the overarching budget?
Well, I think of this in combination with the redesign, which is a redesign, it's not construction, and then, but you also the 106 South Street. I know we've had a lot of public noise on, reconstructing sidewalks and street, but this is $1.6 million plus another free cash. We're putting another $4.25 million into the South Street intersection. That's a $2 million on streets reconstruction. That's a pretty large uptick. What did we spend this year? $1 million, $1.2 million or something?
I don't have that number right on top of me. Hold on.
I'm trying to recollect what we went through last year when we did this, but it seems to be like it was a pretty significant increase. This would be, if you included the South Street piece in particular.
Well, part of the South Street project that comes from a separate grant through Complete Streets. They're giving us $500,000 that we normally wouldn't get unless we applied for the grant and received it. So that's
but
part of the reason.
We're putting still on top of that 500. We're putting $4.25 million into that South Street. That's why the ask is there.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's a $2 million street improvement, which I think we should definitely invest in streets. So I'm just going back to the prospect. It looks like we're about $1.5 million short. It seems like we're putting a lot of money in the streets here.
Yeah.
I think we should increase it, and I'm not against it. But somebody, I don't know if anybody had that answer as to what we spent this year. But this is a pretty good. This is a big, large increase, I would think.
So part of the reason, and maybe Chris was about to start to speak to this, the asphalt prices have also been increasing. So while you see the numbers going up, there's obviously costs associated with the same type of work that's increasing as well.
Yeah, I would assume that. I would assume that.
Yeah, we did some significant sidewalk work this past year. The about 4,000 feet on South Street. And then our paving program too was significant. I don't have the number. I could pull it up when we get into conversation and just see exactly what we spent on those couple of vendors. LAL is our sidewalk contractor. PJ Keating was our asphalt contractor. So we do have some projected projects this year. That extra $425,000 for South Street. Historically, we would have just chewed up our Chapter 90 and used that. So the request is in there to supplement for that grant outside of our Chapter 90, so that we make headway on not only that intersection, but we maintain the sidewalk work that we've been doing, the road work we've been doing, and part of that project too, we are looking at extending sidewalks up South Street a little bit to try to connect that intersection at South and 106 up to the Bicknell neighborhood. So there's an additional 900 feet of sidewalk that we're looking to add into that project. Some of that may need to come from the Chapter 90 or general fund share outside of the 425 that we're asking. So
I think it's great, Chris, to be making improvements. I'm not against that at all. I'm just asking if we really had to make hard calls. Is this a place where we've got a large increase in the maybe the general fund part of it could be reduced to some degree or something? Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
I think sorry, go ahead, Bill.
No, I would say that the one thing that we've talked about in town is that we've been behind on roads and sidewalks for years. And what do you have, 90 miles of roads in town that you're trying to maintain? And we know the sidewalks. I mean, you could dump a boatload of money into sidewalks for quite a while just to even get the downtown walking is in pretty good shape. But when you go towards the schools and stuff, which all have to have a 1 mile radius of decent sidewalks, we are so far behind And the town's made a point of that. They've actually been beating us up on town meeting floor, wanting to change where we put sidewalks where we don't even have them today. So I get what you're saying, Mike, but I think we're not even coming close now. I mean, we've got a ways to go before Chris's team can really get us to something that I think we're all comfortable with.
I hear you. Okay.
And I think the offset, and as we get into conversation about where we cut from this budget, I hate to say it, but for me, spending our money on state infrastructure is more of a concern on my end, not only as the DPW director, but as a resident in town, that I would like us to see it, keep our money in town. And yes, Route 140 is a road in Foxborough, but it is a Mass DOT roadway. So I would look at that intersection when we get into conversation. That would be my opinion, is that we cut from the Mass DOT intersection before we cut from our own.
Any other questions on budget?
All right, then the last couple of things are on the water side. Bob Worley is here as the water superintendent. So we do have a couple requests on the water side. I'll let Bob jump in on those. Bob, we can't hear you. Nope. It doesn't look like you're muted, but something's not working on that laptop.
I should have tried that.
Yeah.
Bob, is there like a source for your microphone that you can choose? Sometimes it switches. So if you click on the little mute, there should be a caret next to that mute button and select a microphone. Sometimes it goes awry.
That's all right. We're not going to stress you out, Bob. I'll jump in. So just on the water infrastructure side, we have two requests. The first one is a standing $1 million request. We've historically been, since we created this, been putting it towards water main projects. Talking to the Water and Sewer Commission and looking at some of our infrastructure needs within the water department itself. We'd like to revise this to just be a water infrastructure improvement request. The intention this upcoming fiscal year is that we will use $900,000 of this for a garage down at Pumping Station Road. Currently at Pumping Station Road, that's our main location for the water department. There is no indoor parking for any of the fleet down there. Being around 4 of our primary wells, we're in the zone 1 for those wells. It's kind of a priority for us to get those vehicles stored inside with a drainage system, a roof, connected to probably a tight tank because that's on septic down there, and get those vehicles stored inside moving forward. So we have an old $400,000 item from a bond that we are looking to supplement. We're working with an architect. We actually just went through a process to get an architect on board. We're looking at a prefab metal building. So this would allow us to do the design over the next few months and then have roughly 1.25 million to actually do the construction down there. The other 100,000 from this $1 million request would be for our Station 2 building repairs, which is down on Sprague Road. Those buildings and wells have been offline for a couple of years now. The buildings themselves are in need of repairs, both electrical, structural. We have a generator on that property that needs to be replaced. That's fed with a propane tank. So there's some significant repairs down at that property on Sprague Road that we're looking to spend roughly $100,000 on for as well. And just for anybody listening, these are water infrastructure improvements being funded by the enterprise account. So this is not general fund. This is all driven from our rate revenue and will be embedded into our rate increases for next fiscal year. The other thing up on the water enterprise is we have 2 vehicles we're looking to replace. There's a Chevy 3500 pickup and a Chevy 3500 utility body. We're looking for $215,000 combined for the 2 trucks. They are both 2016, so they're 10 years old. Again, we have at least a 12-month lead time on these trucks, which would put them within or just outside of our standard replacement of 8 to 10 years for these vehicles. Both are plow vehicles as well, so they're starting to show their age with rust, both in the body and underneath as well. So we're looking for $215,000 for that. And then the only other thing I did want to bring up, and Marie, this is kind of just sticking in my brain because when we approved the first SRF loan, we had a problem where we didn't talk about it at CIP. We didn't talk about the building itself at CIP, I think. So I wanted to just bring this up. We do have a $10 million SRF loan for the Oak Street PFAS treatment plant. That is currently out to bid. We are in the second intended use plan as a rollover project for an additional $6.5 million for the SRF loan for the same Oak Street PFAS building. So this is a $16.5 million loan. We are, like I said, we're out to bid now. Contract should be in place by the end of the fiscal year with construction hopefully starting by Labor Day. Construction would then extend out through spring of 2028 before we'd have to start repaying that SRF loan. But I didn't want to put us in a spot where we didn't talk about it and then SRF looks at us prior to a borrowing or anything like that. So I did want to touch on that. But I think that wraps up all of the DPW requests.
Okay. So any questions from anybody on what we've just heard? Okay, then Libby, thank you for your patience. I know you were here early and we're running late, so Libby,
No.
go over what you've got.
Thanks, Paige. Good morning, everyone. I won't take too much of your time. I know you're running a little late.
Libby, you're actually breaking up. Like we're not hearing everything you're saying.
Funds for. Oh. Sorry, my Wi-Fi at the library is not great. Can you?
We hear a little bit of what you say. Not right now. It's quiet. We can't
Hear me now?
Now we can. Now we can't.
Is not great. Can you? All right. So I left my paperwork at my desk, but I'll try to remember here. The library is asking for $30,000. We would like to create a teen programming room. Since hiring a teen librarian, the library has had an influx of teens that come to the library. We also have, in the past couple of years, we've had about at least 70 programs for teens every year. And so we're really looking for a space that they'll be able to have priority for a teen programming room. For programming purposes, we have the teen librarian is often competing between other library programs. We have almost 700 library programs. So we really want a dedicated room for the teens to have the programming room. And we also have over 400 meeting requests. So the meeting rooms downstairs, the community room and the fuller room, the smaller meeting room are often booked. And so she's competing against those. So we really want to, like I said, have a dedicated space. We're hoping the back alcove, we're hoping to just create a room there, which is right next to the teen room. And so that would include removing the shelves, building a wall, creating some cabinets.
Wait, we're losing you again.
Hopefully
Hold
a
on.
sink in that area. We've talked to. I'll keep walking.
Maybe shut your video off. If you shut your video off, it might help.
All right, how's that, guys?
Better.
Okay, we'll work with that. So yes, the programming room for the teens next to the teen room in the library. And this will also serve a dual purpose. So we often get a request from community members looking for a study room, a closed off study room, and we can't provide that to the public. So this would be a dual purpose for this room. We would offer the public on a first come, first serve basis to use this room Monday through Friday, 10 to 2, and Sundays 1 to 5. So that is it. If you have any questions, I can answer it, but I tried to power through. I apologize for going in and out.
That's okay. So, Libby, can you just give us a little bit of background? I mean, I've heard of it a little bit anecdotally, but you have a good number of teens coming in now, and just sort of what we're seeing over there. And I know you've also had to be managing it. So I would imagine giving them expanded space would help you manage sort of, sometimes teens can be boisterous, I would imagine, and kind of need their own dedicated space.
Absolutely. We usually get at least 15 to 20 teens per day. So it can get quite loud here at the library. Having the program space would help to expand, because the room doesn't accommodate all the teens that we're actually getting. So they're quite noisy here at the library. And so having the extra room definitely would help.
Great. Okay. Anybody have any questions? All right. Well, thanks, Libby.
Thanks again. Sorry about the sound.
Not your fault. Okay, so we're now at the point of our meeting where we get to take a break and do some ranking. So, or Marie, do you want to, or Brandon, do you guys want to give us sort of a summary of where things stand with us right now? I mean, you kind of did, but just, give us a sort of kickoff as we start thinking about these things, or if you have any proposals or thoughts of what you've tracked so far, where we are. Marie, I know you just sent me something.
Yeah, so I can I can jump in. As I stated earlier, so if we forego any additional contributions or transfers to the stabilization funds, we have $3,962,000 available from free cash. Now with all of these requests, we would need to cut $1,679,000. So I've been keeping track of some of the adjustments or suggested adjustments. So I have the Pace and Field, the building renovation, $50,000. I have that one identified as a deferred. The fire patio, I believe that one can be cut in half, so down to $25,000. The chiller requests can also be cut in half to $200,000. The turf field, I wasn't sure if some funds are still needed for that.
I would suggest that we leave 25 so that they can try to do a rebuild to give us another year.
Okay.
Hopefully it doesn't cost that much, but
So 25,000 you
yeah.
want? Okay. And then what was the other? So 60,000 reduction on those bus requests. And then the 300,000 for the catch basin cleaner. So that comes out to be $1,515,000, which still leaves $664,009 that needs to be cut.
Did you add back the 50,000 we need for the Taylor sewer?
I did, yep.
Okay.
I have the Taylor sewer at 150. Let me see what else. I think that was the only increase that I made.
Okay.
So $664,009. We just round that up because I don't like seeing the dollar. So call it $664,000 even.
And how?
And
So
Marie,
what do we have to cut?
sorry, Bill.
No.
Just for transparency, 3.9 million you said is available, 6 million? I can't remember.
3,962,000 is what's available.
Just roughly, like, how how do you come to that number? I mean,
So you have
moving
to take,
numbers and projected cash and all
so
that.
you take the free cash that was certified as of
Sure.
July 1st, which was 9,431,000. Then you have to deduct what's already been appropriated. So back at the fall town meeting, there was some money that was appropriated for free cash, a couple transfers to the stabilization funds. Then you also have to take into account what is going to be used towards the operating budget. Let me see what else. We do have a few other miscellaneous articles for the annual town meeting.
And does it
So that
take into
brings you
account
down to that three
does it take
million
in-
962, and that's with leaving the recharge, which is the $2 million.
I was gonna say that, does that take into account a retention for policy retention?
Yeah, that's the 2 million. Yep.
That's a 2 million, okay, thank you.
Yep. So 3,962,000 is what we
Yep.
have to play
All
with.
right, appreciate that, thank you.
Yep.
And I just want to confirm, so you, on Tree and Park, he had a $25,000 decrease on one of the pieces of equipment, or actually on 6 of them.
That's the, let's see here. I wish we could share.
That was Tree and Park equipment line for 125.
That
He
can
said
drop
based
to
on-
100.
That went down to 100, yeah.
So that one's down to 100. Okay.
All right, and then Pace and Lighting, dropping that by 25. We're looking for recreation to pick that one up.
I actually been in talk with them. I think we could do, what they approved was 37,000, and in talking to the chair, she, obviously she can't take action without the board. But I've been texting with Mark, and we might be able to go up to 50,000 that rec could do.
Okay,
So, just waiting to hear back from Mark on that, but that's where we're currently leaning, that we might be able to do 50.
all right, so plug the 50,000 reduction there.
Sorry, one question on that. Is it the full project cost 200,000, or are we still sticking with the rough estimate that Tony had?
Oh, the 150 that Tony had?
Yep.
Where's
Yeah,
the
I mean-
200 come from?
So it was just a cushion. When we actually do this, we're gonna have to put this out to bid for the fixtures. He had a quote, I think about 46,000 for labor. And then it was like almost 80,000 for materials. So he was actually closer to like 125, 130. So I think the 150 with his vendors is a safe number with the quotes Tony had.
Okay.
Tony, you're muted if you wanted to add anything.
So, it's gonna come down to the fixture. Max Light is a pretty decent fixture, but I'd like to, have that again, in case we find a better fixture with a better warranty. I mean, when we put it out for bid, we're gonna have to hopefully put out our fixture and stick with it. Oh, actually, we're gonna be buying that anyway, right? If we do it, Brandon?
We
We're
could
gonna-
purchase the supplies. Yeah, if we wanted to
Yeah.
purchase those ahead of time, we could.
We're gonna purchase it, and then we're gonna put it out for labor on that slightly.
So you're comfortable with the 150, Tony?
At this point, yeah, I think would be good.
All right, so the 150 would go down to 100 if the 50 were to come from recreation.
Okay.
So where does that put you?
So now we are at so 589,000 and the $9. Could any of these, because we will have a special
Did
town
you take
meeting.
out, wait a second, did you take out the catch basin?
I
Cleaner?
did, yep.
And-
I have 1,590,000 in reductions, which includes the catch basin. So
Well, Marie, you can now share.
Marie, you can share.
I can,
Woohoo,
okay.
Katie, thank you.
Sorry.
All right, let me-
Finally Zoom is working for us.
all right. So here's where I have the adjustment. So it's deferring the Pace and Field, that building renovation, cutting the fire patio in half, the chiller in half, leaving 25,000 for the turf field, but deferring the rest. Cutting 60,000 out of the buses, the 300,000 catch basin cleaner, 25,000 from tree and park equipment, and then the 50,000 from the Pace and lighting. So that's 1,590,000, and then down here is where I have. So that brings the free cash request to 4,051,555, which is $589,009 higher than the 3,962,546 that we have. My question was going to be, we will, so our free cash is going to be recertified sometime in September, early October. Can any of these requests wait until October, for a special town meeting? Like, is there anything on here that, say, if we appropriate the money now, like, do you need it come July 1st, or can you wait until, say, the middle of October or end of October, depending on when we could have the special town meeting?
So if I understood what Karen was saying, she still has one bus that she has funding for that hasn't been purchased from the previous CIP. And my understanding is there isn't a bus that is, there isn't like there was one that there was supposed to be replacing. So if we can pull, we'd basically be able to pull another $145,000 out by only giving them one 77 passenger bus and one minibus, and letting them, use up the other CIP that they had left over. Assuming that ties out to what she said. I thought that's what she was saying to us before, but
Well, what I have left is, I think it's 140.
oh,
So
okay.
if Chris is in agreement that we don't need to purchase, I don't need to order a bus right now, and can just go with the two that are going to be in this, then what I was saying, if we took the 140, then you'd still have, we could take that off. And well, you wouldn't take the whole 140 if you wanted to keep the Bluebirds. I mean, if you didn't want to go with the Bluebirds.
No, this assumes that we would buy the Bluebirds. I understand. So, Chris can weigh in on that, but what do you have left over from a CIP from a previous request for buses? Is that the 140?
140. So that is what I guess there was 1 year that they weren't able to get one. So that's why I questioned Chris if we don't need to replace 3, because I do have the one that they didn't replace 2 in the year. Then we could go down to just replacing the 2. But if you went with the Bluebirds, then I'd say, if you were not going with the Bluebirds, then I'd say 140 minus 60 is all you can take off. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Yeah,
So that would bring you down
where
to 319,128.
Well, go ahead, Chris. What'd you say?
I was just gonna say, I think where we just picked up 2 minibuses this fall, and the 2 new Bluebirds just came in as well. So we just picked up 4 new buses. So, I mean, listen, if the funding is there,
I just don't know if there's any buses
the
you
140s,
think.
yeah, it's just a matter of when you place the order. I mean, I know my reps, Chevy doesn't open their orders until sometime in August anyway. So whether I have the money now or in July, it doesn't really matter on that stuff. But if there are buses you can place an order for, and we have the funding already allocated, there's no reason to wait on my end. But
again, I don't want to get into a pissing contest relative to Bluebirds or internationals.
I'm with you.
So obviously it's a significant amount of money. You're talking about a 20% increase, one over the other. I'm going to let you make the call because I'm not going to get blamed for the thing, but I just see that that's a hard call for taxpayers to pay unless you have, guaranteed proof that these things aren't capable of doing the job.
Yeah, and I haven't heard that. Again, I was going based on the spec on the Allison transmission and the Cummins engine. I hadn't heard that International was going with a different engine moving forward. I will definitely look into that. And again, like I said, I said it. I hope the Bluebirds at $30,000 less are the best things out there, and that we have nothing but luck with them. But it wasn't just my mechanic and the DPW staff that kind of groaned when they heard we were getting that Ford engine in a school bus. So, like I said, I hope they're flawless. the rest of the school year. And when we place the order, we place it when we save the town $30,000 a whack.
What the 140 that's remaining for the bus that was not purchased previously, I wouldn't be able to buy an international. It's not enough money for me to buy an international. So that's why the only bus that you could get with that 140 would possibly be a Bluebird. But other than that, that money is going to sit there because I can't buy an international. I don't have enough money to buy an international.
Right.
But what we're saying, Karen, is if we have to stick with the internationals, we could take your 519,000 down by 140. Because you could use the 140 you currently have.
As long as you buy the Bluebirds.
No. If we're taking 140 off your full price number.
So instead of taking
okay,
60,000 off, we just take the 140.
Yeah.
And then you keep the money in case we don't get I get you now. Yeah.
But I still don't think we're going to get to the number that Marie's pushing us to get to. So I'm just going to use that as a caveat.
Whittling closer, smaller pieces to get there.
Yeah.
The only other thing is, I don't know, Amy, I don't know if I'll have any money at year end to buy any of these small items. I don't know. I can't guarantee it, but.
Well, in my opinion, and just mine, and I'm not obviously associated with the schools anymore, but the high school furniture, again, we always did based on having availability. It's a nice thing to have. We've done a lot of classrooms over the last 5 or 6 years, but if we had to forego that, I personally think that, compared to some of the other stuff on the list, that's one that can go. Gym doors seem to be to me, if they're really becoming a safety, everybody comes in and out of those daily, as well as when we have games and stuff, we have obviously residents coming in and out. So I would kind of want to leave that one, I think. I guess the other two I would question if they had to happen now would be the library refresh and the curtains. If that, nearly 80,000 there could be put off into potentially a fall meeting, I think that would, not be painful, relative to getting it done, but just not worrying about it right now.
Right.
Yeah, I would say that as far as out of the two, I mean, if we could certainly could put it off to a fall town meeting. The library refresh we've broken that down to 3 phases. So we did phase 1. This is the second phase. I think that would be the greater interest than the others as far as like the curtain. We've been renting that or being able to have more kids that are going in there into the library and using that. But to go from July versus fall, I don't see that being an issue.
So that's for the curtains and the divider and the PA?
Yeah. Again, you're talking July versus, fall, so.
So these 2 years, what we're talking about, the high school had classroom furniture and the curtains, the dividers and all of it.
Yeah.
Okay. So if defer those two, we're down to 431,182.
Well, we're probably going to have to do, Chris, that central, which kills me.
Yeah,
That's going to.
I'll go back to it. And here's the thing with that, like, just because we do the design and even get qualified for the tip,
It'll be 10, 20 years.
They're a long lead time. So pushing it off a year is not going to make or break the town on that one.
Agreed.
And at least you've made some improvements in that area. I know not what everybody likes, but better than what it was.
Right.
Yeah, DOT did step up and did the redesign with the left turn lanes. They came out, restriped it, and they put some effort into it, which was good to see and kind of forced their hand on. So I think that.
I'd love to put it in the fall, but I don't know if that'll actually work. So either one, just push it somewhere in the future.
So 181, 182.
I think we could delay the ADA to the fall.
So if I can.
Okay. You gonna be the hero, Chris?
Well, instead of nitpicking the last 180, the street sweeper we have will get us through the spring and should get us through the fall. It's not a long lead time item, so I'm not as concerned about ordering it as soon as I can because it's going to be 2 years before I see it. So if that 355 gets us there, which it should, and delay that till the fall, then we can delay that street sweeper until the fall.
So now we're on the other. Now we have 173 extra or available.
Which, you know, as I don't know, does it make sense to try to then go back and add, or just do we save that 170 for the fall, knowing that we can offset that street sweeper by 50%?
That's the way I would probably approach it, Chris. I think you're right. It's like, rather than have to take that whole hit, we can say we just deferred the money. Then that's why free cash will be that much larger.
Yep, that
I
sounds
agree.
good.
I agree with that strategy. Rather than paying, spending pennies here, pennies there. Kind of.
Right.
That makes sense.
If you could just look through these numbers, just real quick, just to make sure that everything looks good.
I guess the only one I'm questioning, and the team has to make a decision on this, and that's the Pace and Field building. Do I think it's going to make a difference if we do it now versus the fall? Probably not, but the best time to do it is the summer time frame if you're going to do it. So the question is really, is this going to be a building we want to keep? Or if not, then it's not a non-issue.
Yeah. I mean, either way, we'd probably, if we were going to, well, I guess we could defer it if we weren't going to keep it, but it would be, Tony thought it'd be about 25,000 to demo it and about 50 to refurbish it. So we'll have to decide whether we need it. I mean, again, I can't speak to storage. I'll leave that to but I would imagine, a block building with storage might be valuable. But to your point, Bill, who knows whether 50 is really going to even cover it? I mean, it doesn't have electricity right now. It doesn't have, so it really is just a kind of a rotted out concrete building right now.
So as we had the discussion about that, it seemed like whoever the right people are need to think about it more and come back with, do we repair it and keep it, or do we knock it down? It seems like we're a little, speculating and uncertain. It seems, unless someone feels strongly that, no, here's what we should do, then I think, more thought by the right people needs to come into what makes sense for that.
And I would agree with that too, Marlo, when I think about the auditorium project. Why don't we play some of this out and see if anything comes of that? But again, I don't want to.
No, I don't disagree with you guys. I think I would prefer that, we take a really good look at it and say, okay, what really is going to have to be done here? Obviously, you don't have a storage building that has no power in it with no lighting. So, it's not safe in that sense. I'm sure the doors probably would technically need to really be replaced so that you had better access than what there currently is. They're all old and dilapidated. So having a real number of what it's going to cost to keep it versus get rid of it probably is the way we should go. And so that should be deferred to the fall. I would agree with that. Other than that, chillers.
Chris, are your number? I know you kept saying 395 for the dump truck, but is it 395 or 390?
390.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your numbers are good here.
390.
There's nothing.
Yep. 421.
And then this is the stuff that's going to town meeting. So it's not reflected in here. The grants, so like Chapter 90, the fair share.
Yeah.
Given the fact that you still have a little bit of money, I don't know, it doesn't really matter to me, but the high school furniture, because changing that to the fall doesn't make much sense to me because school's just going to be already starting, you know what I mean? So I don't know if we possibly can get that one in there. I don't
How
know.
many rooms do you have left to do you know? And how many rooms does this do?
He says, according to Jim, I have 27 and 28, 2 years. So I have this year and next year where he's got the $30,000 for this year, and then we bumped it to 31.5 for next year.
And then he'd be fully,
I think that's it. So I don't know if you want to put that back in, because if we order them in the fall, they're not going to be there for the start of the school.
no, correct. I quite honestly, even if you order them now, you'll be close, but for fall.
It's up to you. I mean,
No, that's,
I just think the fall would be, just wait till I don't know.
I mean, technically, even though town meeting approves the budget in May, it's not effective until July 1st. So you have to wait until July 1st regardless.
Right.
right.
But the fall town meeting would be way too
Well,
late.
it would probably then be for the following year.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
But he does have the 2 years left.
I would add it back.
Okay,
So the committee wants to add it back.
I'll go with it.
I would not argue it.
So that leaves an extra 143,818.
I'd prefer that anyways, just because I hate to, when we push the number right to the edge, so,
Yeah, we don't need to spend for the sake of spending.
correct.
All right.
Looks good.
All right.
So where did
so-
we end up on the buses? What are we actually doing? What did we deduct out of there, just so we all know?
140.
We took the 140 out, so we're at 379, 128.
Okay. I still think there needs to be a discussion on why we would spend the extra 60 and be sure that that's the right thing to do.
I just want to confirm with Chris that we'd be okay with just replacing the 2, right?
No, you're going to be replacing 3. You're going to use the other 140 you have.
Yeah, so we'll still end up with
No,
two
you took
full.
the one,
two
you're taking
fulls
the
and a mini.
140 away from this.
That's
Right,
because you already
because
have
you
that
have it.
funding.
So I'd only be able to get 2 buses.
No,
No, we have the funding from the previous one that wasn't, when we weren't able to get the bus.
right,
Yeah, that's the 140.
right. So you have that plus the 379,000. So you have the same amount of money.
Because Karen, you haven't spent that 140 yet, right?
Right.
No, but I'm saying that wouldn't get me 3 buses if you take the 140 off it.
Karen, add the 140 back on that, is what we're saying. You have the
From the
140
last
to
year.
spend.
Yeah.
Right. I thought you were subtracting 140 from the new request. So
We-
that,
we are.
From the original, the 519
Right.
was
So
your
you have the-
original request for 3 buses. We're taking the 140 that you already have for existing funding off of that. So you still have funding for 3 buses. We're just in this fiscal year 27 capital, we're funding 2 plus the one you already have money for.
right. That's what but what I was saying was that 77 passengers, I thought you would need the 2 that you have for this request plus the money I have left for the other one, because you didn't replace it before. But as long as you're okay with that, then I'm fine.
Total of 3.
Yep.
Total
Right.
of 3.
Okay.
All right.
Do we
Any-
need to should we take a formal vote then?
I think so. Yeah, any final comments, or do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the CIP as shown by Marie.
I'll second.
Probably should say total request of 5,084,547.
Amend my motion to add 5,084,547.
Thank you.
And
Second.
I will second that.
Okay,
Aye.
all in favor?
Aye.
We have to do a roll call,
Yeah.
so.
Bill, aye. Yes,
Mike, aye.
Amy, I.
Chris, I.
Page, aye. Okay,
great.
all right, this is great. Thank you, everyone.
Marie,
for all-
will you circulate the disapproved list with,
Yeah.
with the balance, all the
Yeah,
data?
we'll have a packet ready for both select board and AdCom, and I'll send it to you as
Yeah,
well.
I'd just like to be able to talk about the original and the differences, and,
Yeah. Like, we can do that. Yep.
yeah, myself and Marla was listening to, so that'd be helpful. Thank you.
Great. All
Thank
right,
you.
everyone, well, thank you for your Saturday time and have a wonderful weekend. Oh, we should probably motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Second. Aye.
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 All right. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you. Good meeting.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.